All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Resource Potential Podcast, sponsored by the ReSourceYYC co-working space in Calgary. For those who are not familiar, we have shared offices, meeting spaces in and meeting spaces in downtown Calgary. They're available for rent on a short-term or long-term basis, as well as we are a virtual office for companies working remotely. As part of ReSourceYYC's commitment to build a community of professionals, we are bringing you this podcast with interesting professionals and companies in Calgary. Now over to you, Ron.
Thanks, Shelby. Yeah, and today we've got a really interesting podcast. It's been a while since we've done one, so joy getting back and interviewing some really cool people in Calgary. And today we're actually going to be spend some time to talk to Sarah Carmichael. She runs a boutique marketing company here in Calgary, branded marketing company called Bees and Honey. Welcome today, Sarah.
Thanks for having me, Ron.
Yeah, so actually you're working right out of our co-working space at ReSourceYYC, which is great. Love to have people here and be part of our community. So thanks for being part of the ReSourceYYC community, first of all.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I love the office. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's great, you know, for smaller companies and people who have remote places. It's nice to actually be part of a bit of a community. So which you're part of. So first of all, let's tell us a bit about yourself, Sarah. You have a really interesting background that led up to your company, Bees and Honey. So maybe just tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure, yeah. So I'm thinking about where to start, I guess. I'll start. So I started this company because I was working in marketing. My first job was with a tech startup in Calgary, and I was the go-to girl for marketing. I was the only one in the company, and that's how I started. And it was, okay, I need to get in there and I need to start doing websites and graphic design and responsible for the videos and the messaging and the PowerPoints and everything. And it was a really huge learning experience for me. And it helped me understand what companies needed for marketing in the wholesome way that you could imagine.
Was it a little company or a big company?
It was at a little company. So it was a startup. It was a tech startup called Trusted Positioning.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, startups, you get to do everything, right? The good part about a startup is you get to learn everything. The bad part of a startup is you get to do everything, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I learned and did everything.
Good. And they had no one doing marketing before you?
No, that was the first.
But you're all in.
Yeah, and wild because I was right fresh out of university. So
wow.
yeah. So it was pretty fun. And that company actually was acquired by a Silicon Valley company. And then that went to be acquired by a multinational after that. So they were doing good work, doing great things. And it was a great experience. Yeah. So then from there, I went into the tech community and I was working with a tech investment firm. And that exposed me to so many different companies and a lot of technologies who they have complex solutions and they were needing to tell their story. So I was doing little synopsises on them and helping promote them in the community. And that made me get really passionate about wanting to do more within the community and work not just with one company and one company's branding, but with many companies. And I saw the vast range of needs from, the one person brilliant engineer to the companies that were, 20, 40 people that didn't have a marketing department, but they needed to tell their story.
Yeah. Is that a bit of the common denominator? Is they had the great idea, but weren't getting their stories though?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think what's neat about my story as well is while I was growing that career, I was also growing a small business myself. So yeah.
How did you have the time?
I don't really know, actually. I don't think I slept for years, but I built a performance arts company in Calgary here, and I was doing dance and musical theater and all this creative stuff on the
Oh, wow.
side. So I
Yeah.
really enjoyed doing both things. But I think that also ultimately led to what is Bees and Honey today, because it's a marriage between the creative side as well as the business side. So we're looking at, in our company, we're doing creative as well as business strategy.
That's interesting because there's so much about digital marketing, which can be very technical and task-based, get this out, yet people still get lost in all the marketing because they're not really telling a great story. So, and I suspect being technical doesn't mean a lot of companies are creative as well. So that's a great background.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of what is really cool about Bees and Honey. So what Bees and Honey does is we work on the messaging and the creative and the visuals and the stories of companies, but then we ultimately have to do all the technical implementation as well. So we're the marketing department for companies that don't have marketing departments.
Yeah.
And usually we say marketing department because it's usually many different people with many different
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah.
And so with our company, that's where I think that was my initial strength, was having to do all those things and be all the things. But now I'm working with a team and all of our strengths coincide together so that we can offer that to our clients.
Oh, that's great. Actually, so who is a target client then? What would be your typical Bees and Honey's client?
So we work with anybody from a one-man show to we are working with big corporations, a business unit within a multinational company. So really the common denominator is the no marketing department. So
okay.
yeah, that's the
Sorry,
common denominator.
that's just a general comment, or
Well, yeah, so
sorry, I'm off topic, but a lot of companies really, and a lot of it's because they're startups or they grew without marketing, but it turns out at some point they see a need for marketing and they really have no marketing department and perhaps no marketing strategy, right? Especially if they grew word of mouth, right? So sorry, I interrupted you a bit, but
no.
I definitely understand how companies end up in a position without not strong marketing, whether they're one person starting out or a company that's been around for a while, just kind of resting on their own success, right?
Well, and I think that one of the things that happens too is piecework, right? So you start a company and go, I need a logo. So then these people will, you'll jump on Fiverr or Upwork or one of these logo creation places and you'll get a logo. Okay, I have a logo now. Okay, I need a website. Then these people either, mess about with the website themselves, or they'll get, somebody else, again, a different person to create a website. And then they'll do a presentation. They might do that in-house. They might, again, get somebody to look over it and put a little bit of effort together. But it's always piecemeal, which is fine. That's where you start. But then as you start to grow, like you said, that missing piece is the strategy that links all of those pieces together.
And maybe actually I'm sidetracking a bit. However, I think a lot of companies don't understand the difference between branding and marketing,
Right.
and then sales, right? Especially if you're a one-person company, because when you start out, or a small company, you mix them all together because it's actually all around that one person, and then they grow a bit, and then it turns out you actually need some branding that can be for marketing. So do you do branding as well then?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do. Yeah. We have a great little graphic design team too.
Oh,
So
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, good. So sorry. And then so what would be a typical, so if a company doesn't have a marketing department, how do they get started? What does Bees and Honey do for them? How do you even start from no marketing department to having someone like Bees and Honey help them out?
Yeah. So usually what people do is they come to us and they say, I need this. So it's usually a piece. Like I said, they've been coming to different people for pieces, and they come to us with, hey, I need a new website. I don't like my website anymore. Or I need you to do a presentation, or can you just do my social media? I'm too busy to do my social media. And we'll start there.
Yeah.
And then what people start to realize is that everything works together.
Yeah.
So that piece can feed into your website, and that can work together with your blogs, and that can work together with your SEO, and that can work together with your, your presentation should be mirrored on your website, and everything ends up coexisting, and it needs to have a common goal. So usually when people come to us, it's usually a piece, and then we start growing that with them, and they start seeing results and seeing what's, getting that good vibe feeling of it's coming together.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what else can we do, and how can we make this work? Or something's broken. So there's, they feel like everything's discombobulated. And usually it's an overwhelm. So usually it's people saying, oh, I just don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do my marketing, because a lot of these people have full-time jobs. If you're for example, an MD or a lawyer or what have you, or an engineer, or they have their engineering team, they want to do that because that's their superpower, and marketing isn't their superpower. So that's when they come to us.
So how do you actually, so a lot of people feel like they're not doing anything because they're not doing social media. And then they do social media and get overwhelmed with content creation. And how do you help? And actually, I've seen a lot of companies just kind of flame out on marketing because they overwhelm themselves with stuff. And it's not as strategic, but if you don't do some of that stuff, you feel you're not relevant. So how do you coach companies around finding the right balance and where to start? Because I know a lot of them, especially if they've just grown up, a one-person company, and all of a sudden started getting busy, they don't know where to start. So how do you coach them on how to do that rationally?
Yeah, so I think that that's a really good question, because I think that they usually come in with, I want to start here, which is okay. But then it depends on the results that they get from that. But you're very right about that. Social media is it's a slow burn, if you will. So it's a lot of marketing, email marketing, social media, blogs, all of that is the long game. It's all anything that you do organically on the inside of your company. So this is not talking about like paid ads or paid search, that kind of stuff. That's slow burn. So it's something that you have to consistently do over time, and people have to consistently see you showing up for it to have an impact. You're not going to gain 100 followers overnight from one post the first time you post, unless it's for some reason viral. But it's going to be working one person at a time.
Well, and that's interesting too, because if you're not selling to consumers, you more have a B2B, then sometimes quality and brand and really being methodical is more important than just volume, right? It's really a quality game and a long run strategy. So I imagine I'm probably talking about things that all first time clients, first time marketing people come in and they have all these ideas, but it's really about being efficient and effective, right?
Yeah, and like you said about the where do we coach people? A lot of the time you also have to look at your customer journey. So what's working, and how can we facilitate what's working already? Because what happens is that, you're right, people will come in and just be like, I have an idea, I need this, and that's not necessarily where they need to put their effort. If, for example, email marketing, if that's what you're doing, if you send one email out every month and you're getting an average of 10 to 15 people calling you on an email, awesome. Let's try 2 emails a month. Let's try and double or triple that, but it's all looking at how are people how are your customers actually responding to you?
So it's a bit of and I know we've talked about this before, but it's really a bit of a funnel, right? It is a funnel, right? From the branding awareness through to people even considering you. to building that relationship. So do you talk, what would be a first, if I sat down with Sarah Bees and Honey for the first time, do you have a way to guide people through, kind of have that conversation and then talk through what's important and how you build that funnel?
Yeah, so I think that I think that we would talk about what's working, what's not working, and then kind of do a health check of where are here's a list of 5 other things in my brain, and what are you doing for that right now? And what has the results been for that right now? Like I said, with the email marketing, if you're doing it once a month and you're getting results from it, let's try doing it twice a month, once a week.
And I think, and as one of the reasons I'm asking, because I think people, when they're a bit overwhelmed, are even scared to start, right? Because it seems like a huge commitment, and it's easier just to delay it. So I guess a bit of that first engagement with people, what is the expectation? Because I think a lot of individuals go, you know what, it's overwhelming, I'm going to do it later.
Right.
I think I know this is important, I need to spend some time, so I'll do it later when I have time. It just keeps going and going and going, right? So that first kind of conversation, do you get to help prioritize people so it kind of takes some of that fear away? Because actually, I just know this from some of myself and people I've worked with. They just never do it well or even talk to marketing people because it's always just going to take so much time later.
Right. Well, and I think that what happens with a lot of marketing companies as well is that most companies are not the marketing department for people without marketing departments, so
okay.
So it's most companies we do SEO, we do websites, we do this well, which is awesome. We work with those companies to facilitate for our clients. But what happens is that you get down a rabbit hole. So a lot of people will go, I think I need XYZ. And then they'll go after that, but then they don't really know. And then it's usually expensive. So with us, what we try and do is go, okay, why don't we, so number one, we look at budget. Because we work with such a wide range of people, we go, how much do you want to spend on marketing? Because marketing can be something that you spend a minimum amount of money on every month, and it can be something that you spend a ton of money on every month. There's realtors in Calgary that I found out about that will spend like $1 million on marketing. And we all know this, those big companies will spend so much money on marketing, and that's how they support their funnel. But there's companies that, they're doing well, and they want to dip their toe in the water. So they want to start with a low budget, and we go, okay, let's address what we think is the most, let's find the spot that will hopefully create some impact at the very beginning. And then let's play around, because a lot of marketing is doing something and then figuring out whether it is working or not. So
and so it sounds like part of the good relationship is part of the good engagement with a company is really building that relationship and helping them through that process as well. Then So one thing that's come up, and I've noticed a lot of companies, and we touched on it a bit, but it's a bit about really telling their story and what differentiates them and how they can really get that across. So and every company is a little different, and also whether they're B2B or B2C, but how do you help companies tell their story?
Yeah, so there's so many different ways to tell your story. I think that this is something that should be in every single element of your marketing. So number one, it's very important. And the way that you can tell a story is, verbally. It can be through video. It can be through a series of social media posts. It can be through your website. There's so many elements to it. But ultimately, I think one of the biggest things that companies miss is their common thread. So what do you do? What's your common thread? what's your differentiator? And how would somebody interacting with your company go away from your company and tell your story? Because a lot of companies get caught up in word salad, is what I call it. So they they want to say, for example, if I was saying bees and honey, I could come out here and say, I work for Bees and Honey. We are a boutique marketing firm in Calgary, serving small to mid-sized businesses, and we help with websites, content development, graphic design, social media, like all these things, email marketing. I could go on, but nobody in their right mind, anyways, is going to go to somebody else and say, oh, you should talk to Bees and Honey. They're a boutique marketing firm in Calgary, Alberta, who works with, they're not.
I think that might be how I introduced you. So how should have I? How should have I introduced you?
No, I think you did fine. No, but I think that, I think that's it's a good description, but there's a time and place for the description, and it's not the story. So, for example, I was thinking about companies that I would tell people about, and I thought about my family's favorite restaurant. And so our favorite restaurant, I'll plug them, Nico's Bistro in Calgary. Nico, sponsor me. But anyways, I love what I wouldn't say to anybody. I wouldn't go to somebody and say, they're an Italian restaurant located in Kensington, Alberta. They are mid to high price range, and they provide a series of foods for all palate types, including vegetarian meals. I wouldn't say that to anybody else. The way that I would tell their story is, I love this restaurant because my parents were one of their first customers. And so the owner came out and he really got to know my family or my parents that night. He served them so well. He brought them as if they were family. And every time we go back, he knows who they are and he knows our whole family. He's seen our family grow. He's witnessed the lives of my grandparents and everybody. And so just an incredible restaurant, incredible experience every time you go in, and you couldn't get a better meal. That's the kind of story that you want.
Because you can actually feel yourself at the restaurant in that.
Right?
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. I'm a little side note. I was just in Atlanta and we went Coke's head office there and we did the Coke tour.
Yeah.
They sat through the video introduction. We sat through the video, big amphitheater. And I thought it was going to be all about Coke, and it wasn't. It was about 20 minutes of these amazing life experience of people getting engaged and sports teams and all this stuff. And people were crying. And at the end, they drank Coke, right? They didn't even mention it was a master class, because at the end, by the time it ended, you're just experiencing Coke, right? And I went, okay, they know how to do it. And I went fully expecting a description of Coca-Cola and what they did. Right. And that's all what we got. So that's so my little side note that totally relates to what you just said about the restaurant experience. So, and now I'm kind of hungry. So thank you. It must be working.
No problem, Ron.
I'm going to associate Bees and Honey with a really good meal and a Coke.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know what? That's probably an accurate description of what you should associate us with. Yeah.
Oh, hey, and maybe just a thing. And is there maybe some quick tips? I know you don't know the people are going to listen to their companies, but is there anything you'd recommend people just don't do? Just, if they're getting really frustrated with their marketing, just some things that really drive people nuts that you've seen come in the door.
Right. Yeah, sure. Well, and I think that a part of that comes back to storytelling. So I gave you an example of a rich physical experience with a restaurant, right? But how do you do that with a tech company? How do you do that with an accounting firm? Where
sure.
Technical,
I'm now picturing myself sitting in an accounting office. So
yes. So, well, even ReSourceYYC, right? How would you want ReSourceYYC to be talked about to your clientele, right? So I think that, yeah, stay away from the word salad. That would be my first point of don't do the word salad. It makes no sense. People can't unpackage it in their brains. And they just, it doesn't help you with anything versus, you can, with ReSourceYYC, for example, it's like, you want what you would think about people coming through your doors. You could give them a list of amenities. You could say, we have private offices, these type of things. But really what people want to know and feel and hear about is, this is a community. You walk in, you're greeted by lovely Shelby at the door or Rosemary, amazing women. Maybe Ron will be there, nicest guy you've ever met. And then, and then you get to go into your private office. There's no dogs barking. Your kids aren't bothering you. The Wi-Fi works, and you're able to have your own work haven.
I'm in.
You're in, right?
All we need is a nice Italian meal here at the same time, and we got it. That's the story. Perfect. No, that's great. So so get away from word salad. That's a great advice.
Get away from word salad. And then I think that the other thing, I just did a post on this is so you're gonna be fearful of standing out from the crowd. So there's something called tall poppy syndrome. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's basically like, the tallest poppy gets his head chopped off. Right. And so that's the second thing is that, if you're trying to fit in with everybody in your marketplace, you're not standing out. You're not going to get the attention.
Find a way to be a tall poppy.
What's that?
So find a way to be a tall poppy.
And
own it. Own it.
Well, and the reason, we are so, it's so ingrained in us to not stand out because it's, people are like, oh, look at you. You're so good. And, but the reality is you're not just doing yourself a disservice. You're doing your potential customers a disservice. So by not telling them how you're different, by not telling them how you differentiate your products and services and are better in those ways, you're not helping the people that you should be helping, and they're not finding you.
Excellent advice. So we've tried to keep these within a half an hour. We've already chatted a good portion of it. So maybe before we wrap up, so if someone really wants to meet Bees and Honeys and talk to them and find out more about what they can do for their one-person marketing or their whole lack of marketing team, how do they contact you?
So we have a website. We're actually going to launch a new website here pretty quickly, but I know, don't judge us by our website that we haven't paid attention to in a couple of years. But we will be launching a new website soon. So it's beesandhoneycreative.com. You can also find me at Sarah at beesandhoneycreative.com, Sarah with an H and an H at the end. I have uncles who wrote my name SHARA when I was a child, so it's SARAH creative.com. And find us, call us.
That'd be great. And you're hanging out at ReSourceYYC. I know you guys also are one of those companies that work remotely and have an office here. So sometimes you can come connect here, and we will put a link on our website as well. And this is a great conversation. I enjoyed chatting with you. I got lots of tips. No word salad, and don't be afraid of being a poppy. So thanks for the advice. And we will keep in touch and see how Bees and Honey is doing. And hopefully you get some clients who really get to stand out above the crowd. So thanks again, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Sarah. That was so informative. That was great to hear. Thanks for coming onto our podcast.
Thanks for having me.